fellow worlds, welcome back to FanZcene. Greg here, and today I have for you movies you might not have seen to watch for Halloween. You like that? I like that. Anyways, if anybody's ever seen my channel here, I tend to focus a lot on like the older school horror movies from like the 80s, 90s, 70s. That's kind of horror I like. But I grabbed some movies off the shelf that I have here that are a little bit newer films that I feel are a little underrated, a little underseen, and I wanted to share them with you guys, and maybe you can add them to your Halloween viewing experience rotation year in, year out if you've never seen them, or if you have seen them, maybe give them another watch. So they are a little bit newer, so you might be surprised by the titles, but I think these need to be, these fit in the vein of good old classic horror movies. So the first one, I'm sort of a bit of a cheat because I feel like a lot of people have started to come around to this one, but for those who still haven't, I wanted to bring it up, and that would be the WNUF Halloween Special. This is a great little fun movie. I absolutely love it. It's presented like a VHS, even right down to the quality of the movie is like a VHS. It was actually shot on video. It was run through multiple VCRs to give it that aesthetic, that look. Basically what it is like if somebody was recording a Halloween news special program back in the 80s, 87, right? They were filming it off of like a Geraldo type special from back in the day, where this guy and like Ed and Lorraine, like the two people from The Conjuring, they're going into this so-called haunted house, and stuff starts happening. Stuff starts really happening. So if you've never seen this movie, I highly recommend it. This is from TerrorVision. I do believe it is still available from TerrorVision, and I just love this slipcase. It's like a VHS. It's so great. If you've not seen this, I highly recommend this one. So that is the first one. I'm sort of, like I said, sort of cheating in the beginning here because I think a lot of people have started to come around to this, but for those who still have not seen it, check it out. So let's go to the next one. I'm a sucker for 80s films. I'm a sucker for slasher films. And I'm also a bit of a sucker for movies that were filmed in the now but are set in 80s and are slasher films and try to recapture that spirit. And so that brings us to Lost After Dark. And when I say the now, this was actually filmed in like 2000, I want to say like 2005, maybe. It wasn't filmed that long ago. 2014, it looks like. So like 10 years ago. So it wasn't filmed that long ago, but this is, and you thought 80s horror was gone. So this takes place in the spring of 1984. There's a group of teens. They're at a spring dance at the school. They decide to steal a school bus and take off and go party. The school bus just so happens to break down outside of this house of local legend, Junior Jode is his name, a cannibal who supposedly killed his whole family, and he was never caught. Can you guess what happens from there? Yes, this is pretty much a by-the-book slasher film with some good effects to it. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It's a fun movie, and I don't think a lot of people have seen this, and I like to, talk about movies like this that people may have not have seen, and it's really great. And one of the nods to the slasher films, like each of the teenagers here are named after the final girl, the real name of the final girl, and the director of the movies. Like, so we have Sean and Adrian here, right? We have Sean and Adrian. We also have Wes and Heather. We have John and Jamie. So they're all like, all the girls and the guys are named after the final girl and the director of that. And some of them pair up like they should, and some of them pair up they don't, like they shouldn't. And the sort of the story, more to a little bit to the story here is like a girl's sister went missing years ago around this time, around this property as well. And that girl's sister just so happens to be on that bus that breaks down outside of this house. And so the final girl that in this movie, because it does lead to a final girl, may not be the final girl you think. It gives you enough twist and a little turns on this. That's why I like this, because, yes, it's a homage to the 80s slasher films and stuff, which plays right, and Robert Patrick's in this, by the way. One of the like teachers looking for him or whatever, a gym teacher, I think he is. So, he's looking for him. It pays homage to those early 70s and 80s slasher films and stuff like that into the 80s. But it also gives you enough differences to make it its own. And I like that. I like that about it. And it's not like in-your-face, modern-day bullcrap. It's very much a traditional slasher. And if you've never seen it, I do recommend it. So let's go to the next one. So what's just as fun as seeing some 80s slashers slashing away? How about somebody trying to be a new slasher where all those slasher movies do legitimately exist and are real? And that's what you get with Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. And I highly, highly recommend this movie. This movie is so fun. In this world, yes, Freddy Krueger exists. Jason Voorhees exists. Michael Myers exists. Chucky exists. All those serial killer slashers from all those movies exist. They show 1428 Elm Street. They show Haddonfield. They show Camp Crystal Lake. And so what we get here is with this man named Leslie Vernon is allowing this news crew, this documentary crew, to come along and document his, his rise, as it is, that he plans on to becoming the next big slasher villain, and all the training he goes through and everything. It's a great little mockumentary comedy horror movie, and what lies behind the mask, what is real, what's not real. We have nods to so many classic slasher films in this, but it's its own original story. And I just recently talked to Nathan Basil, the star of this movie, Leslie Vernon, which you guys will see that interview soon here on the channel. It is so great. This movie is just, I love being able to tell people about this movie, and I was actually just recently turned on to it by my friend Hollifield. Shout out to him. But man, if you've never seen this is such a great, fun little movie. Is this guy really going to be a slasher? What is going on in this world? What is happening? And as it gets to closer and closer to the end of the movie, because I'm not spoiling anything on this, it really keeps your interest, and you wonder, what is going on? Is this all real? What was happening? So I really highly recommend this movie. I'm sure a lot of horror fans have seen this. So if you're a horror fan, you may have seen this, but for some of those you may not have seen this, I highly recommend this movie. This is such a fun movie, man, and it's so respectful to the genre of horror and slashers, and trying to create its own, and that it just. Oh man, it's got Robert Englund in it as like the Dr. Loomis of the movie, right? It's got Scott Wilson from The Walking Dead as Leslie Vernon's mentor, who was like a slasher, who was maybe possibly Billy from Black Christmas, right? And he's a retired slasher, and he paved the way for new slashers, right? It's got Kane Hodder living in the Nightmare on Elm Street house. That's so great. It's got those nods, right? Sam Raimi's car appears in this movie that's in every Sam Raimi movie. It's such a fun movie, and I highly recommend it. Check it out if you've never seen it. Speaking of Robert Englund, let's move on to a movie that maybe a lot of people don't know about, and Robert Englund himself has said he wished more people would have seen this movie. And this was one of his new movies, and it's called The Last Showing. This is a fun little movie. I was watching the documentary Hollywood Nightmares and Dreams, the story of Robert Englund, and he mentions this in it. It's called The Last Showing. He made it over in England, so it's a British movie. But you can get it here in the U.S. Don't worry, you guys can get it here in the U.S. So basically, he was saying he wished more people seen this. What is the basic of this story? Okay, so Robert Englund is this aging man who's a projectionist at a movie theater, right? So this will connect to a lot of movie fans out there. And he's basically being downgraded and being forced to retire because they're getting rid of, the movie reels, changing the movie reels. It's all going digital. Everything's going to go digital. And it really makes him mad because he's got this young boss, and Robert Englund, the guy doesn't know nothing, and he's being forced. Now Robert Englund is being forced to work the concession stand and everything, the late shifts, until he's forced to retire basically and get ready to be gone. And so what he decides to do is, he's going to make his own movie. And why not make his own horror movie? Enter these two, this young couple. They met on a Halloween night, right? And they had started dating, and the guy sort of can't get quite lucky with the girl right away. But he seems to be really into the girl, and she seems to be really into him. So Robert Englund's character targets them to. They're coming to a late night, midnight showing of the Wes Craven's The Hills Have Eyes Part 2, and they're the only ones in the theater. So Robert Englund, in a very different Freddy villain thing, takes these two as the star of his horror film and starts to manipulate them and his boss and everything, to where it comes to this really bloody conclusion of a film that I think is a bit of a surprise. Some people may see the ending coming, but some people may not, and it's an ending that I think you may not quite see coming, and it really depends on who you're liking by the end of the film, because it is very manipulative with what Robert Englund does. And I really highly recommend this movie. I can see why Robert Englund wanted more people to see this. It is a very good thriller, and so almost like it's not like a slasher, but it's like it's like preys on certain fears of certain things, of like what this guy can do in this theater. Oh, you got to see it. You just got to see it. I do recommend this. It's a fun movie. It's just a great watch around this time of year in Halloween. So check it out if you've not seen The Last Showing. Up next, I have for you the movie Hellfest. So some people know this, some people don't. I was surprised that some people didn't know this when I brought it on to the Physical Media Show, which is the show I do here every Wednesday night live. This also comes in 4K. Unfortunately, I don't have the 4K. But basically, the plot of this movie is a group of teens. As usual, it's a good slasher here. If you haven't noticed, I'm a fan of slashers. A group of teens are going to Hellfest, this big traveling horror amusement park for Halloween, right? And they just so happen to be targeted by this guy. Just a normal guy. He just walks into the thing, puts up his hoodie, puts on a mask, and he starts stalking these people. And what's so great about this movie is like it's throughout the mazes and horror things, they just think maybe he's an employee there, right? And when he's chasing people and killing people, they just think it's part of the show. This massive amusement park filled with all these people, they think is part of the show. So he can get in there and get around easily, and he just targets these people. And it's a typical slasher film on Halloween, which brings those vibes. Really great. And Tony Todd is in this as the voice of the Hellfest. He's telling people how to get through the maze and everything, and he's actually in it as an appearance. I know a lot of people like the movie Haunt. So if you're a fan of Haunt and you've never seen this, Haunt's a little more darker than I think Hellfest is. Hellfest is a little more traditional slasher, where this guy, and it's scarier in the sense that he's not like a Michael Myers or anything like that. He's just a normal person that just so happens to target these people and has found a good way to get around the system of where you can't get caught on a horror Halloween night, So I think it's a fun, great little watch around this time, and it brings those Halloween, October horror spooky vibes. So if you've never seen this, I do recommend Hellfest. Up next, I have for you No One Lives, starring Luke Evans. This is a crazy movie. I like to recommend this movie whenever I can because I think this is just a fun, insane flick. Basically, Luke Evans here is a man with no name. Him and his, let's say, girlfriend, because I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but it's hard not to, so be aware there's some minor spoilers here. Him and his girlfriend are traveling, down the road. They got a little, RV type thing. It's attached to the car. They stop into this diner and they're kind of heckled by these bad guys who are clearly set up in the very beginning of the movie. They're robbers and thieves and just bad people. And, they kind of do some bad things to Luke here and his girlfriend that he's with. And then come to find out, he's not a man you should be messing with because this man is worse than them. And I probably have already gave too much, but let's just say when motherfucker here says no one lives, no one lives. All right. I guarantee you guys will love this. This is a fun movie. There's mysteries abound. You figure out what's going on with Luke Evans and stuff. It answers questions. It also leaves you with questions. And I think that's what a great scary horror type movie will do. And for those who like a little bit of the blood and stuff, you'll get that. You'll get that in this. That and it's on boobs, everything. Great fun movie. And surprisingly, this was actually put out by the WWE when they were making movies, but it has nothing really to do with wrestlers at all. Nothing at all. But it's a really fun movie, and if you've never seen this, I really do recommend this movie. Give it a watch. I think you'll enjoy this. It's got an old school feel to it with a nice little twist. Finally, I have for you, what's more fun than one slasher, but a bunch of slashers in a support group, right? I have for you Vicious Fun, a horror magazine writer in the 80s, by the way, this takes place in the 80s, stumbles upon a horror support group for a bunch of slashers, right? So we got the clown, sort of an evil clown. We have a Patrick Bateman style character, like an Asian, horror character. And this is the guy, he just runs a support group. But we also have other, slashers in there as well. And we have this woman here who may or may not be something different, not supernatural-like. So this guy who just so happens to stumble upon this because, he gets drunk and he's in this bar and he passes out and he wakes up and it just so happens there's a support group for these mass murderers, slasher movie villains. And he happens to write for a horror magazine that was sort of like Fangoria back in the day. And he's a bit of a smarmy asshole, this kid is, this guy, right? And so he doesn't know what quite to do. And then all hell sort of breaks loose and they start going after him and possibly her as well. I don't want to spoil too much. And and it breaks down into these really cool horror movie tropes and everything, but that's funny and good, and it's got some decent kills and everything, and it's really just a really fun movie, a little bit of a throwback. And if you haven't known by now from all these movies I'm showing you, I have a certain taste in movies. I have a certain taste in movies, and maybe you all don't have the same taste in movies as I do, but I feel like these movies I want more people to see, and if I can help more people to see them, that's why I'm here. But if you've not seen this, I do recommend Vicious Fun. It is on Shudder. It is on Shudder, but I bought the Blu-ray here because I really liked it. It's just like this crazy movie, right? Where this guy is being hunted down by all these different types of serial killers from the 80s and stuff, and the guy, the Patrick Bateman type guy, steals the show. Oh man, he steals the show as like the like wrangling them all together to try to go after them and everything. It's a fun movie. It really is vicious fun. So if you've not seen it, I do recommend it. But there you guys have it. Movies you may not have seen for Halloween that you may want to watch. I hope I've inspired any of you guys to watch any of these movies because I really think they're fun movies. Yeah, they're maybe slashers, maybe not quite horror, because I know some people don't think slashers are horror, but I think there are some great watches on Halloween or for the month of October if you've never seen them, and I want to get more people's eyes on these. Yes, I love 80s horror movies, I love 90s horror movies, but sometimes I have found a couple newer movies that I really want people to see. And when I say newer, these are like early 2000. These aren't like past like 2016, really. Except maybe WNUF, which is a little newer. But yeah, I highly recommend these movies. And if you guys have never seen these movies, please let me know in the comments if I've inspired you to see them, or if you're going to see them, or if you watch this and then watch them, come back and leave a comment. If you have seen them, tell me whether you like them or not, or leave some of your recommendations down below for people who have not, for movies that maybe they have not seen that you want them to see. Let me know all that in the comment section down below. If you liked what you saw here, maybe consider hitting that like button or subscribing and hitting that bell for notifications. That would be awesome if I earn your guys' subscriptions, or possibly share the video out for everybody to see, or join and become a channel member, because that would help out my channel immensely. Thank you and shout out to all my channel members. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you guys for being channel members here and for all of your support. And to everybody watching, whether you liked me, hated me, or liked this video, or hated this video, I thank you for sticking this long. Wherever you all are, please have a great, safe, happy, healthy day, morning, afternoon, evening, and night. Always support physical media because it truly is the superior format. Godspeed.